Hello again. Well, I'm continuing my thoughts on Ephesians, and I will land these next few weeks on the Pauline Prayer. Paul prayed a lot. He said he prayed unceasingly, uh, but here he actually took time to write down what he prayed. And I would think that it would be so important. I mean, it's so important for him. It might even be an organizing principle as he thought about praying, that these are the things I'm praying for, and he would do that. And the three things he said was that the eyes of our heart would be open, that we might see. And this word "see" means to get it, that we might get it, and that we might get the hope of his calling, the riches of his inheritance in the saints, and the exceeding greatness of his power toward us, or in us who believe. And uh, as I was writing this about the hope of his calling, there's some things that really hit me. One is the hope. It's the absolute certainty. If Jesus has called you to whatever it is, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but to whatever it is, the absolute certainty that He is going to do it. So, again, as we look at the waves and twists and turns of our life, we have to say, Lord, this is your path for me because you're calling me, right? And it's His calling. He's the one who's calling. He called His disciples, and he called you. He's calling everyone. It says many are called. One of the things that I read this morning in Hebrews is that if we hold on to the confidence, we will be partakers with Him. And so there is a part we play, and part of that is to know that this word hope is not "I hope." It's not "I hope it happens." It is an absolute certainty and assurance. In fact, the word in Hebrews for the holding on to the confidence is a title deed, that we're holding on to the actual deed for the house that we don't see yet. And so God wants to fill us with all hope, in believing, so that we can abound in hope. And because the path we take is twisty and turny. But then it says the hope of His calling. So again, what has He called us to? And there's a general aspect to that, and there's a specific aspect to that. And most of us, I would think, are fuzzy on the specifics. And I'm still fuzzy on the specifics. I can't say God's called me to be but I know God's called me. He's called me to be a son. He's called me into a relationship. He's called me into this into significance, and He's called me to be a voice. And He's called me to be unique, and He's called me to be loved. And so those are the things that I focus on. And actually, part of my holding on is saying I am loved, and I am a son, and I have a relationship. When I come to Him, I say, God, thank you that you've made me a son, and I can come to you as Jesus does. But then also, what I write in the book is that we need to first see the word calling as a verb and not a noun, because if we look at this word calling as a noun, we end up with this little tightrope of what is His will for me, what is His calling, and if we don't really get it for a while, then we tend to give up. But if we see calling as a verb, that God is always calling us, He's always calling us to Himself, He's always calling us into more of what He has for us. Regardless of what it looks like. It might look like a lot of money. It might look like no money. It might look like an argument with your wife. It might look like, the trees of the field are clapping their hands. There's a little poem by Rudyard Kipling, in his poem "If," he said, we need to treat those two imposters, triumph and disaster, the same. Circumstances are circumstances, but through it all, God is calling you into the relationship. Faithful is He who calls you, who also will do it. And again, 1 Corinthians 1:9 says that he has called us into the fellowship of the Son. And as we focus on that, as we focus on that, God, I'm relating to you, I'm opening my heart up to you, I'm being honest with you, God is going to do it. God's going to take us step by step, because His path is not from A to Z in one step. It's A to B to C, and again, that might be twisty, windy, but it's His path, and He's calling you. He's calling you. He's calling you. Till next time.